Hello, my fellow artists. We are going to continue our cup and saucer drawing, part 2. We're going to add some color today. So last time we were together, we created this cup and saucer using ellipses. So an ellipse, if you remember, is basically a circle that is turned on its side, or another word for oval. What I didn't add last time, which I'd like to add right now, is maybe a little bit of steam coming from my cup. So a really light wispy line of steam. I'm gonna leave that, and maybe I'll leave that blank. But let's go ahead and add the color. This is a painting project. However, if you don't have paint, no worries. You can definitely use some light colors of marker. Again, I like these Crayola markers. They have the nice conical tip to it, which basically means that it looks like a cone. Conical tip is shaped like a cone. It's got that nice tip at the end if you want to make a fine line, but you could always turn it to its side if you wanted to have a wider line. So I really like these a lot. So if you don't have paint, marker is completely acceptable. Just make sure you use light colors. We're going to go ahead and paint our cup in using solid colors right now. I'm going to mix a couple colors up, because what's the fun thing about paint is mixing up your own colors. So I've got my water with me, which is good. I've got a nice thick brush for mixing, and I've got a flat brush for doing the painting. Use whatever brushes you feel comfortable with. I wanted to make a little bit of green. I have this blue, so I was going to try and add a little bit of yellow to this blue to see what it looks like. A slightly green tinge to it. I'm definitely going to add a little bit of white. I'm going to do a big no-no right now. I'm going to take my dirty brush and go ahead and scoop it into this white. Never want to do that if you're sharing paints with someone. They're going to be so mad at you if you do that. It's always good to clean off your brush, but since I'm using this myself, it's okay. So I made this a little bit lighter. This will be one of my colors. It's very subtly different, which is kind of nice. I'm going to go ahead and definitely have to clean this brush off now. So I'm going to swirl it up. Get it nice and clean. Don't drink the paint water. A lot of globs of paint on there. And for the next one, I think I want to make my purple a little bit lighter too, because that purple is really dark and we want to keep our colors light. The reason being is because once we put down a coat of light colors on our cup and our background, we are going to draw over it to make some patterns. And if you try to draw over a dark color, it doesn't really work out that well. Here I'm making my purple a little bit lighter. I like that. I think that should be acceptable, light enough to draw over if I had to. And then I've got some orange. I just have to figure out where I want to put these colors now. I'm kind of liking these. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside for a second. I'm going to go ahead and pull my artwork back over. And I'll start to figure out what colors are going to go where. So since I have a whole bunch of purple on this big brush right now, I'm just going to go for it and paint my background purple. Now it is a huge brush, and I'll be somewhat careful to not go over the lines. So I can be a little free with it until I get to the edges. Then I want to be nice and even with my lines. I want to make sure I'm putting an even stroke down. And it's not wispy lines either. It's a nice solid color. There's a definite beginning to the color and a definite ending to the color. It's solid. And this big brush is super hard in these tiny, tiny areas. At any time, if you need to get a smaller brush, definitely do it. I'm about to pick up my small brush, so I can do that because I'm running out of paint here too. Trying not to go over my lines. Right up to the line. And if you're using marker, you definitely don't want to go over the line because you can't really cover up marker. Sometimes with paint, you can cover it up once it's dry. But marker is a whole different ball game. It's not really any coloring over marker to cover it and hide it. You color over your marker, you'll notice that the color of the marker will change, but it won't disappear. Okay, I'm going to be careful here. Down to my horizon line. Remember, a horizon line is a line that separates the ground from the sky, or in this case, the table from the background. And I'll take my smaller brush to get in here because this would have been just totally impossible to paint with a thick brush. And even the brush that I have now, it's pretty big, but I'm going to be careful with it. Turn it. All right, so I've got my background done. It's a solid color. Don't get funky with it yet. No patterns, no polka dots. Don't do anything crazy with it yet. We will get crazy with it, I promise, but not yet. We have to let this coat of paint dry before we do anything pattern-wise to it. Next, I am going to go ahead and do, let's see, I'll do my cup. I'm gonna make it orange. Will this paint cover my purple? Ew, no. After this dries, I'm gonna have to go over it again because that did not cover. The orange paint I'm using is a little bit thinner than the purple. By the way, I'm using tempera paints. Tempera paints are really good because supposedly they don't stain your clothes. I say supposedly because there's always that chance, right? And the cleanup is much easier than either oil or acrylic. Definitely much easier than oils. So again, nice even strokes, making sure to stay inside my lines. Go ahead and get the handle. Now I might want a different color inside my cup just to differentiate it from the outside of the cup. I don't want it looking too flat. So since I do have a little bit of white left over, I'm gonna go ahead and take a scoop of my white. I know it has some blue in there. We'll see what happens. Take a scoop of this white with a scoop of the orange, mix it up. Again, why have paint if you're not gonna mix it up and have fun with it, right? You can come up with thousands of different colors just from orange and white alone. Thousands of different hues and different shades. All right, so that looks like it'll work for me. I'm gonna take this and carefully go inside my cup. I'm wondering, should I leave this little steamy part here? Should I paint over the steamy part inside the cup? I think I'm gonna leave it. Being very careful to stay inside that line, go right up to the edge of the paint. It's not easy, and a lot of the times you might accidentally grab some of that wet paint on the side that you're trying not to touch, and it might blend into your paint that you're trying not to get it into. It happens. It's okay. If it does, just work with it. And again, if you're using marker, that's a problem you don't even have to worry about. Notice the way I'm spinning my paintbrush to fill in the area that needs to be filled. These flathead paintbrushes can carry a lot of paint in them. All right, looks good. So my final is to do the table or the area that it's sitting on, which is blue. Just sort of bluish. I added some yellow to make it greenish, but it still looks pretty bluish. And I'm just gonna go ahead and toss that color in there. So our goal is to have pretty much no white showing. Zero white should be showing except for that little steamy spot. That part is okay. Your job is to finish up coloring your cup and saucer and the entire background. I'll stop this for now because you know what I'm gonna do with the rest of it. And I will see you in part 3 when this is dry so we can add some patterns. And that is where the magic is going to happen. That's where it's gonna be a lot of fun. And we get to be really creative with it. So until then, keep on painting. Let it dry completely before you even think about doing step 3, or else we'll have some problems like dead markers. Have you ever tried to draw on paint that's wet with a marker? No bueno. All right, see you guys soon. Bye.